So you're going to need a few different supplies in order to be able to make your mandala. First things first, ruler, pencil, either with an eraser or get yourself a bigger eraser if you have one. I didn't happen to have a Sharpie on hand, so I have two other small, like fine tip black markers that have a smaller tip like a regular Sharpie would. You need scissors or a paper cutter, depending on what you have around. And you need a variety of sizes of circular objects. I happen to have a bunch of different bowls of different sizes. Yes, they are dog bowls. And yes, they will work just fine. So that's to make circles, unless you happen to be super fancy and have this nifty guy, which is a circle template, or a protractor or a compass or anything else that will make a circle that you can adjust the size of. Is totally usable if you have it. So if you have colored pencils or markers, you can definitely use those as well to add color, but it is up to you. It is not required to have color on this assignment. So the first thing I need to do is I have a rectangular paper and I need to make it into a square paper. So first things first, ruler, pencil, paper. Making sure that my ruler has this first line lined up with the edge of the paper, I can now see that this is 11 inches long. And this direction is 8.5. Okay, so regular printer paper. If you have larger paper, obviously you'll need to adjust this a little bit. Basically the concept is I need to make this length the same as this length. So if this is 8.5, I need to adjust this to also be 8.5. So I'm going to measure here, making sure again that this is on the edge of the paper. I'm going to find my 8, find my half mark, and make a little mark here. I want to make the mark so that it almost looks like it's completing the line that is already on my ruler. It is a vertical mark, not going horizontal this way. That's not going to help you. So making my first mark here, then I'm going to slide my ruler up. Again, make sure it's in the right spot and make a mark at 8.5. Now I have two marks here. I'm going to use my ruler to connect the dots and create a straight line. Now this should be an 8.5 by 8.5. So now I need to use my scissors and carefully cut this down. Try to keep it as straight as you can. If you have a paper cutter or any other method to do this, go for it. It's totally up to you. Now, toss that, set it aside. We've got our square. It's ready to go. So we've got to do a bunch more measuring to start this assignment. Sorry guys, I know, but I promise there is math in lots of different things, including art. It happens. So if my total paper is 8.5 wide, the middle point is going to be 4.25. So looking on my ruler, I have a half mark here. There's my 4. I have a half mark, and then the quarter is going to be in between the half mark and the 4. So it's going to be right here. So I'm going to make a mark on my paper, moving it up. I'm going to start on one side, and then I'm going to do this on all 4 sides. So finding the 4, finding the half, going that 4.25, making my mark, turn your paper, line it up, make sure you got it at the right spot. Otherwise, your measurements are inaccurate and wrong. So make sure you got it in the right spot. Again, 4.25 right here. Four and a half, so that's 4.25. Last one, 4.25. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 marks on there. Got to connect these in order to make a horizontal and a vertical line. So working here, I'm going to connect that dot and this dot. Try to get it as perfect as I can. Well, bam, got one line. And another. So now I have a cross section going through. Step 1, make cross section. Step 2, we need to get diagonal lines going from corner to corner. So using my ruler again, this might be a little bit harder if you have a big piece of paper. You might have to get like a yardstick or get creative with measuring. But luckily, my ruler will fit. So I'm gonna go corner to corner, like so. And same thing here, like so. So now I have 8 sections. Initially I had 4, now I have 8 slices, just like a pizza. So we've got our measurements all in place. Sorry, phone is making noise. Same thing on all sides. So now we need to create our circles. So we know that mandalas are comprised of concentric circles, meaning a circle within a circle within a circle within a circle. And we know that they have radial symmetry. So radial meaning it radiates out from that center point. And your design will kind of do the same innately. So for my first circle, which is going to be my small circle, you are required, let me clarify that, you are required to have 4 rings. You need to have 4 rings. It is required to have 4 rings. So starting with my smallest circle, I just grabbed a little tin of lip balm, and I'm going to use that as my center circle. I'm tracing it super carefully. And it's not perfect, but it'll do. Might be easier to do with a different material. You might have to test this and figure out. My next circle, I think, do I want to go with that one? Yeah, I'll go with this guy. So obviously I am kind of having to eyeball whether or not this is in the center because I can't see through it, but we all know perfection is boring, so it's all good. All right, 1 ring, 2 ring. That was louder than I expected. The 4th ring is going to fill almost my entire paper. Like so. And then I need to get a little creative and use my circle template to make one more, because I didn't have something that would fit the size. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rings. Okay, and if it's not perfect, it's all good. Don't worry about that. So I often start out my mandalas from the center, working out to the edges, but that is up to you completely what you would like to do. Totally your call. I've seen this done a million different ways. If you do not already have my Instagram, I would highly recommend going to follow my Instagram because I have past examples of students' work on there. So that's going to be at Thurston Art Squad. So if you go on here, you'll see a lot of different student examples, and you'll see that students have done this in any possible way you could imagine, and you'll sort of get a feel for how that's gonna look. I seem to always start mine the same way. I'm not really sure why. I think I just like doing them this way, but I almost always start with something kind of like a flower petal, just because I like the way they look. And then I can begin to build from the center. There are some really cool apps if you have an iPad at home and you are curious. There are lots of mandala drawing apps that will perfectly reflect everything you do on each quadrant. Super fun, challenging to do in real life. I challenge you to try to make yours make sense on all sides, but don't feel like you have to. It's all good. It's totally up to you on that one. So in this case, I started here. the thing that makes mandalas usually look really cool is just repetition. So if I just repeat that same line, almost like if you threw a rock into water and you saw the ripples go from there, that tends to make things look super complex, and it's in fact super easy. You're tricking everyone. They're like, wow, you're super hardcore, and you're like, actually, it was really easy. So, very simple to do something like that. Then in my next ring, I'm going to choose something else to create. So you guys are going to see kind of the quick version of this. Obviously, I would normally take my time. I expect you to take your time. This is just going to be the quick demo version. I can continue to use my ruler. I really think it's kind of neat to bring in squares because this is so circular that it's kind of neat to break it up and change something by squaring off sections. And just remember, the cool thing is you're doing this in pencil, so anything that you don't like, erase it. You don't have to keep it. You don't need to keep any of these marks in there. Once you've traced it all in Sharpie, you can erase out any of your extra lines that you don't care about. So just remember that when you go back. You could go like that and kind of change your shapes there, and then maybe I want to even bring in another section. If you are into geometric shapes and you want to stick to doing this, you can do this. This is especially cool looking if you do have some way to color it. But again, that is not required. You can start to do something like that. You could break this into triangles, kind of like we do in the stained glass watercolor assignment, if you wanted to. You're really just building patterns. And if you get stuck at any point in time, go on Google, look up references. You can use any references you want for this. My only thing is you absolutely cannot just take someone's entire mandala and copy it completely. That is considered plagiarism. However, using a section or a shape or a certain design or a certain style, that's definitely not plagiarism, that's just referencing, and that's something that all artists do constantly, so don't worry about that. So you can continue on and create whatever you want to do at this point. I've had some students create a theme where maybe they did all like underwater creatures. I've had students do Harry Potter inspired ones. It's completely up to you what you would like to do. Maybe you just want to make something that's kind of a nice calming design, and it's something that you get to do right now and decompress and not be stressed out during that time. So that's pretty much it. Again, you're going to turn in your assignment by taking a photo of it and uploading that assignment into your exploratory wheel folder or emailing it to me, and you'll get more updates coming soon.